What if forgetting wasn't actually a flaw in AI, but a feature? Today, we're diving into a really cool paper called Forgetting is Everywhere, and it's going to completely flip how we think about the memory of artificial intelligence.
So let's just start with a question that's going to sound a little weird. What if AI actually learns by forgetting? Yeah, we usually think of AI models as these perfect digital brains that remember everything, right? Well, this paper says, not so fast.
All right, so let's dive into our first big idea here, AI's hidden memory problem. And this isn't what you might think. It's not just about an AI learning a new task and pushing out an old one. Oh no, the problem is way, way deeper than that.
And here's the really wild part. The core discovery here is that an AI can forget stuff it just learned, like moments ago. And this can happen even during a totally standard training process where the data isn't changing at all. So this isn't about learning task B and then forgetting task A. This is happening constantly, under the hood, making the whole learning process less efficient and less stable.
So you might be asking, okay, if this is happening all the time, why was it so hard to spot? Well, for years, the tools we used to measure learning were kind of muddying the waters. They were lumping two totally opposite things together. On one side, you've got backward transfer, which is great. That's when learning something new actually makes you better at an old task. That's constructive. But on the other side, you've got true forgetting, which erodes knowledge. It's destructive. The old metrics just couldn't tell them apart, so we were basically missing half the story.
Okay, so this problem leads us right to the paper's big breakthrough. Section 2, redefining forgetting. The researchers knew they needed a whole new way to see and measure this hidden knowledge loss, and they found it in a really elegant idea called self-consistency.
And this next quote from the paper, man, it just nails it. If a learner updates its predictions on data it already expects, it must instead represent the loss of previously acquired knowledge. So what does that mean? Basically, if an AI changes its mind for no good reason, without getting any new, surprising information, it's not learning, it's forgetting.
So this all boils down to a new concept they call predictive self-consistency. Think of it like this. It's super simple. Imagine your weather app says there's a 70% chance of rain on Friday. Then, on Tuesday, with absolutely no new weather data coming in, it just changes the forecast to 20%. That doesn't make sense, right? It's forgotten its own confident prediction. And that violation of consistency, that's the real forgetting they wanted to measure. All right, section 3. This is where things get really interesting. Because once you have this new definition, you can start uncovering some mind-blowing stuff. So get ready for a twist, the surprising benefits of forgetting. So now that they had this new tool, this new lens to see true forgetting, the researchers went to town. They applied it to a huge range of AI models, everything from simple classification to really complex reinforcement learning. And what they found was a single universal pattern. This chart basically shows that forgetting is, well, it's everywhere. It's in every single type of AI learning they looked at. But you can already see a little clue here. Some areas, like reinforcement learning, seem to be way more forgetful than others. We'll come back to that. But hold on, because here's the biggest, most counterintuitive twist of the whole paper. The goal isn't to get rid of forgetting. It turns out that trying to build an AI with zero forgetting would actually be a really bad idea for learning. Check this out. They call this the forgetting efficiency elbow. See, on the far left, you have an AI that barely forgets anything. It's too rigid, too stubborn, so its learning efficiency is low because it can't adapt. Then on the far right, you have an AI that forgets way too much. It's totally unstable, chaotic. Its efficiency is also in the tank. But right there in the middle, that's the sweet spot. Peak learning efficiency happens with a moderate, non-zero amount of forgetting. So the big takeaway here is that effective learning is a balancing act. It's a trade-off. You need stability to hold on to what you know, but you also need flexibility to adapt and learn new things. A little bit of forgetting isn't a bug. It's a crucial feature that keeps the system adaptable. Okay, let's bring this home with our final section, where we zoom in on the most extreme case of all. Part 4, Taming AI's Forgetfulness, with a special focus on the chaos of reinforcement learning. And this slide really shows the difference. In normal supervised learning, forgetting is pretty smooth and predictable. The model can find that stable balance we talked about. But in reinforcement learning, it's a different beast. The AI's own actions are constantly changing the data it sees. This creates this wild feedback loop, leading to what the paper calls persistent and chaotic fluctuations of forgetting. And that helps explain why RL can be so notoriously unstable and difficult to train. So let's just step back for a second. Why does any of this matter? Well, first off, for the first time, we can actually measure a fundamental process in AI that was totally hidden before. It shows us this critical trade-off between learning speed and stability. It helps us understand why some areas, like reinforcement learning, are just so darn challenging. And maybe most importantly, it gives us a new target, building AI that can find that perfect balance, adapting to new things without totally forgetting everything it's already learned.
And that really leaves us with one final big question. Forgetting isn't just an AI problem. It's a huge part of how we humans learn too. So the ultimate question this research opens up is, can we teach our artificial intelligence to remember more like us? Not perfectly, but by striking that delicate, powerful, and very human-like balance between the new and the old.